back. I want to do some more work on this pole position here. I want to pull off this T-molding really quick, and then we're going to start messing with this artwork that's on the side. I'm going to cut this so that I can just pull it out. This we might not need to do fiberglass resin around the edges because it looks like it's in really good shape. Might just need to do a little bit of filler work around a little bit of the edges. We'll see once we get into it here. All right, so let me grab a razor blade here. See if we can start getting some of this art off the side here. So basically, I'm just going to take this here and scrape it all off. And this is going to take a little bit of time. It's definitely adhered better than it was on the paperboy cabinet that I did a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. I don't remember how long ago I did it. I'm trying to be careful with the razor blade, trying not to nick the wood all up, just to make it easier on doing the body work. The less I nick it up, the better I'll be. All of these Atari cabinets are like this, with the particle board with like urethane on it. And the funny thing about these cabinets is at certain points, it sticks really well. I think like the black ink areas seem to be stuck the worst. As you can see, it's just peeling right around it. I don't know if it's from like the heat of the lights and the sun over the years that causes the black to stick more, but it definitely does. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera. I'm going to go ahead and work on this until I get this side stripped down, and then we can look at it as far as the body work that needs to be done to it. So I'll be back in a little while. It's going to take a little bit of time to get this peeled off. Okay, I've been working at this for about an hour, and this side is just about done. This side is about 95% done. That's pretty much all done. That's some spray paint where somebody has spray painted at the top. Now I'm curious, and I think I know the answer to this. I actually messaged Arcade Jason to ask him, see when he gets back to me. Now, the white vinyl that was on this particle board, was it already applied to the particle board and Atari screen printed right to the wood, which had the white vinyl onto it? That would be my guess because of how thin the white vinyl is. I did order the side art and control panel from Phoenix Arcade, and it is screen printed, so we'll have the matching silver, like the original silver, because it was screen printed. But I'm just curious, because the white vinyl is so thin on these cabinets, that my thinking is it's already applied to the wood and then they just screen print it right onto the wood. I'm gonna continue this video tomorrow. It's getting late. I got a little bit left to scrape off, and then tomorrow we're gonna continue this video, and we're gonna start filling in all the nicks and scratches and stuff like that. There are quite a few in the cabinet themselves, some from me with the razor blade, and some of them from damage just from abuse over the years. But the cabinet is in really good shape, really good. I mean, we're not gonna have to do that fiberglass work to it, I don't think. So I'm gonna leave this here, pick it up tomorrow, and we'll keep going with it. But the reason why I say that white was probably applied to the wood already, because you can see the black flaking off the back here. So I think what it was the one side was black and the other side was white. And then they just went ahead and printed it right onto that white vinyl. So if anybody knows, let me know. Or if I hear back from Jason tonight, I'll put it in my video tomorrow when I pick back up where I left off. I'm probably gonna do a real quick short video on showing where I'm at so far with this. So I will continue this tomorrow, guys. All right, guys, it's the next day. I'm back. The other side's completely cleaned off. This side, there's a few spots that are really stuck. I'm just gonna sand those off. I wasn't crazy. I knew I saw a corner of a cabinet missing. This corner is missing. You can see what it's supposed to look like on the other side, and it's clearly missing right here. So I'm going to show you how I go about fixing that with some fiberglass resin. And I want to try to finish up the bodywork and stuff on this cabinet today if I can. So what I need to do first is I need to get a piece of plastic. This can be kind of hard to do because the whole corner is completely gone. I got to figure out how I'm going to get this to stay on here with some tape and hopefully not leak. So I'm thinking about putting a piece there, and we're going to tape it, try to tape it really good to keep that fiberglass resin from wanting to go through the tape. So basically what I'm doing is I'm building a corner here out of Lexan. And it looks like we're gonna need to put a couple screws in there. So let me go get a drill and some screws. All right, so basically what I wanna do here is figure out, now I gotta grab a marker. So I know that my angle's right here, because it still has a piece of the angle left. I'm gonna hold it on there, and I'm gonna mark it. So I know that that's where that angle comes to. So I'm gonna take this piece up to that angle. I'm gonna cut this down. So we know that that needs to come to there. And then this piece can go right to there. And then on the inside here, we are left with our corner. Just trying to find the straightest cut I can on this stuff. Just like that. I'm gonna mark that there. so I know where that ends. Gonna get my drill. Before I put this plastic on, I want to take some of these little trim screws. This is just a little trim screw with a square-headed end, and we're gonna put a couple of those into this wood. And we want to get them in far enough so that when this plastic's here, it's not gonna hit. Plus we have to put a T-molding groove in there. So we actually want to go a little bit farther because you don't want to hit that when you're cutting in your T-molding groove. And what these screws are going to do is bond together our new repair with the old piece of wood. Because it is screwed into there, now it's solid, and when I pour my resin around there, it'll stiffen it up. Now, we might do this a little bit differently. The more I think about this, I think, I just don't know. The resin likes to seep through any tiny little crack that it can. So I guess I just need to really try to seal it up as best as possible. I was almost thinking about taking some fiberglass or short strand fiberglass and put it in there first, but I don't know that that's going to work. It's not going to flow into all the seams and everything that I want it to. So what I need to do now is take a piece of this plexiglass and go right up to that line. And I'm going to drill through the plexiglass only. Try to drill through the plexiglass only. So that I can put 2 screws into the bottom of the cabinet to just hold it into place temporarily. So we'll take this up to our line. And that's just temporarily while the resin dries. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Put another piece of plexiglass, just like this, right up to it. And then we're gonna have to really, really tape these seams up well. I always drill my hole big into plexiglass so that the screw doesn't crack it. All right. And it's okay if it looks a little crappy once it's poured. You know, if it seeps out a little bit and there's like stuff hanging off it, don't worry about it because you'll be able to sand it off afterwards. So what I'm doing now is trying to really dam this off so that a bunch of the resin doesn't end up on the ground, which usually seeps through no matter what you do, but hopefully I can stop as much as I can. Now, when we mix up this resin, I'm gonna put a little extra hardener in it. I wanna try to get it to dry pretty quick. Okay, so now, if you look, Move this out of the way. You can see here that we have built a dam, and that's what's missing. So we need to fill that in from what's missing. We set up the camera to a spot where you can actually see what's going on without it rotating. That looks pretty good there. I'm gonna back it up for a minute. So we're gonna mix up, remember every ounce is about 10 drops of hardener. I'm probably gonna go 15 drops of hardener. I want this to try to set up quicker. The quicker it sets up, the less likely I have of it running out. So we're gonna take 2 ounces, should be enough, and we're gonna do 30 drips of hardener. Okay. Stir this up real good, and we're gonna get this poured in there. And then fingers crossed it doesn't come out everywhere that it usually likes to do. And once this resin starts to harden, it's going to harden around those trim screw heads. Once it does that, it's going to bond this corner to the wood itself. We could cut this out, biscuit joint another piece in there, but I've had really good success with this. You can always mix up more if we need to. Just hoping that it's going to hold with the tape. Basically, just shoving it in there. I'm leaving it high. You can sand it off. Don't worry about it being high. Now, if we could just get that to stay there and not sink in, we'll be doing really well. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if it's gonna sink past the tape. I mean, it's going to a point. My goal is to hopefully have it firm up before it gets too far. It's already sinking a little bit, so we got this extra here we can kind of shove into there. I think I'm gonna go get my heat gun and apply some heat to this to try to really get it to kick as fast as I can. So let me go grab that. Okay, so I'm gonna try to start drying this. It is sinking down. Still have a little bit more in the cup as well. I probably could have used short strand fiberglass, but I just like the fact that this liquid goes in and you know that it's going around those screw heads all the way around them, and it's getting into every surface that you need it to. Don't worry about this stuff catching on fire. Just be careful with it. You'll be fine. I'm kind of putting some pressure on the bottom side to kind of keep it puddled up. If I can get this fiberglass to harden just enough to where it's sticky, then I know it's going to quit running on me. I mean, it's clearly sinking into the tape area, but it's not getting past the tape yet, which is good. I turned my heater up in the shop to 70 degrees too, to also help. And I'm hoping with that extra hardener, that'll set pretty quick. I'm gonna heat it again with my heat gun here in a minute. I like to do it in passes. I'd like to heat it for a few, let it sit for a few. See, this looks like it's already starting to gum up a little bit on the edge. That's exactly what I'm looking for. These little cordless heat guns from Bauer with an 8 amp hour battery last a really, really long time. Just get them at Harbor Freight. So you can see that gelling up right there. You might not be able to see it in the camera, but it's definitely getting a skin on it. Heat it up again. I'm gonna push on it this time. Okay, it's starting to really harden now. See that? It's got like a skin forming over it. That's what I want. And that'll keep it from settling. And then we're gonna let this set for a couple hours, and I'm gonna come back. We're gonna pop off this plastic, and then we could start doing the body work on this side of the cabinet. So you don't, if you're not like you're good with woodworking or anything like that, this is another way to fix these corners without having to cut it, either drill dowels in there or biscuits from a biscuit joiner. You won't have to have all those tools. You can do it this way and save yourself, obviously, a bunch of money from buying tools. And I think it holds up really well. I've never had one break out on me. Heating it up on the outside here a little bit. I don't want to catch the tape on fire, so I'm kind of just moving it around. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit for a couple hours. We're gonna come back, we'll continue the video, we'll pop this off. If it's still a little bit sticky feeling, we'll run the heat gun on it for a few minutes just to stiffen it up, and then we can go from there. But I could push on this already and it's stiff, so that's a good thing. All right, I'll be back in a little while. Okay, this has been sitting for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the tape and plastic off. A little bit did run down inside of here, but it's not gonna hurt anything. Want to take this off while it's a little bit easier to get off. Hopefully it's dry enough. Keep in mind, this is not fully cured yet, so just gonna be a little gentle with it. Okay, now that that's off, I'm gonna let this sit for a couple hours. Then I'm gonna come back and we are gonna sand it down and start doing the body work on this side of the cabinet. A little bit of resin went down in the bottom here. Dripped down because I knew I was losing some, so I'm gonna get that cleaned up now, scrape that off, and we'll let this corner dry. But look at how nice that looks. It's perfectly the same shape as the other corner. So, all right, I'll be back in a few hours. Okay, it's been about another hour or so. It's pretty dry. We're gonna go ahead and sand it down and see how it goes. Now, if anybody doesn't believe me that this is strong, I'll show you. But this comes all the way under because underneath here, it was broke off flush with that bottom piece. So, I mean, I could pick the cabinet up and it's not coming loose, so you know it's strong. So let me grab my mask here. Let's knock this down real quick. Okay, that's pretty good there. Now I'm going to work on seeing if this artwork's going to come off. Okay, we're getting there a little bit more, and then we can blow it off. And we're going to do something a little different on this cabinet. I'll show you here in a few minutes. All right, let me get this blown off and I'll be right back. Here's what we're gonna do different this time. If you look at the cabinet, there's some nicks from me taking the artwork off, and there's some nicks that were here that were through the artwork. So there's quite a few on each side, I've noticed. The cabinet was banged up, you know, but the edges never really got banged up, which is nice. So what we're gonna do is, I gotta get a screwdriver. Open that can up real quick. All right, we're gonna take our regular body filler, a regular, and we're gonna put some on this mixing board. Probably gonna have to mix up 2 batches. Okay. We're gonna take some fiberglass resin. We're gonna add it to the body filler. Then we're gonna add our normal cream hardener that we would normally use for the body filler. And we're gonna mix this all together. And we are going to put a coat on the whole side of the cabinet. The reason why we're doing this is there's a lot of nicks. When you have a cabinet with a lot of nicks, you wanna just go ahead and coat the whole side, because it's just gonna make it a lot easier for you. The reason why I put fiberglass resin in here is to make this a thinner mix. It's gonna be more of a runny, as you can see, it's real runny. And we're just gonna pull it really tight over the side of the cabinet. And what we're gonna accomplish by this is A, we're gonna fill in most of those nicks on the first coat, and B, with that fiberglass resin in there, we are going to strengthen up the actual particle board itself. So let's pour some of this out here. See how it's nice and thin and pliable? I'm actually gonna grab a wider one of these. I'll be right back. Actually got a wide plastic one. Just mixing it up a little bit more because I saw there was a little bit of unmixed material in there. This is a bit messy, but it does a really good job. Something in here. I need to clean my mixing boards. Man, bunch of junk in there. And I'm not sure yet, but we might have to do a second coat. Or at least in the low spots. We'll be able to see the low spots after this coat dries. Another piece of debris. Yeah, I gotta get these boards cleaned off. Oh, Arcade Jason had messaged me back last night, and he said that he had seen some original Atari artwork, like pole position and stuff, actually NOS artwork on rolls. So does that mean they just applied it after the cabinet was built? Kind of seems like that's what they did. It's just such a thin material. You know, obviously they screen printed it, and then they screen printed it onto a vinyl, and then they must just applied it afterwards like regular artwork. I thought for sure that the vinyl was already on the particle board, but I don't think so. I mean, if he saw NOS artwork that was on a roll, I would think that they applied it after the cabinet was built. only have so much time to work with this stuff. Feels like it's getting a little bit stiff. This, I got dirt and this stuff all over the place. Now, because I have that big sander, this will sand real easy for me. Okay, I gotta mix up a little bit more. I think what I'm gonna do is just mix it right on the board, right on the cabinet, because I need to clean those mixing boards off. I'm not worried about those scratch marks. They're gonna sand out. It's just a pain in the butt. So like I said, more than likely I'm gonna have to go over it again with a second coat, but at least we are hardening up the particle board in the process of doing this. Let me get a little bit more body filler out here really quickly. I want to try to get this mixed before it starts setting up on the other spot. Almost put my hand into it. Make sure you use a new squeegee to get your body filler out of the can. Don't use that one that already has hardener on it. We can use that one to mix with. So that dolphin glaze I was using on the paperboy cabinet, this is kind of like the consistency that is, okay? But without having to buy that stuff. So basically you're kind of making your own, because that stuff is a little expensive when you figure out, you know, if you had to buy a whole gallon of it. So if you only have some fiberglass resin and some regular body filler, you can go ahead and do this and pretty much make yourself that stuff that I use quite often. So that's another way to save a little money and not have to buy a bunch of different products in the process. Okay, now I can start smoothing this out a little bit better. Need to fill in right here a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry and I'll be back in a little while. Okay, this first coat of filler is dry. I'm going to go ahead and sand it down and see what it looks like. All right, I'm gonna keep sanding. I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, that's sanded down and you can see the low spots. Anything that's dark, it's not real low, but it is a little low. So I'm gonna mix up one more batch just like I did the last time, coat over it one more time, and that should be all I need to do on this side. So I'm gonna get that done, let it set for a little bit, and then I'll come back and sand that down. Okay, this second coat's on. You can see it's a lot smoother this time than the first coat because the first coat has all been soaked in and sanded and everything. Another thing I forgot to mention, let's say you have an older can of body filler and it's starting to get a little stiff on you. I'm not saying that's completely dried out in the can, but when you take it out of the can, it's a little stiff. Adding a little bit of fiberglass resin is going to loosen it back up for you so you can still use the product. So don't think if you take a paint stick or something and you're getting it out of the can and it's a little stiff that is ruined, because it's not. A little bit of fiberglass resin mixed in with the body filler will definitely help you out with that. So I'll be back in a little bit once this sets up and we'll get this sanded down. Okay, I'll let this set for a little bit. It's nice and dry. I'm going to sand it down and then we're going to come back and look at it and see how it looks. I figured I'd just sand it down off camera. I don't need to keep doing the same process over and over while you guys watch. So let me get it sanded down. We'll come back and make sure we get all the nicks and everything out of it. Okay, it's sanded down with the big sander with 80 grit, the small sander with 180. It feels extremely smooth. I think I have like one or two little nicks I need to touch up, and I'm just going to use some of that dolphin glaze for that. But you can even see this corner is now back in shape. It's nice and perfect around the edges. I think there's a little bit right here and maybe one spot I saw in the middle here. I'll have to go over it. But other than that, this side's done. Now, the benefits of doing it like this with the body filler and the resin is I'm only going to have to filler prime this cabinet one time. So I'm going to put 3 coats of primer on it, let it dry, sand it down, and it'll be ready for paint. My paperboy cabinet, I have to do it twice because I didn't use this method. I'm just doing the 2 different methods to show you guys the difference on how you can do things and different ways of doing things. This way is not wrong. That way on the paperboy is not wrong. They're both the right ways of doing it. It's just 2 different methods of doing it. Just all depends on what you feel comfortable doing. Both ways are going to seal the particle board up to keep from future moisture getting into it. So I'm going to go around and hit these couple little tiny little spots, and then we're going to roll the cabinet on its back and we're going to work on the front. The reason why I'm not going to do the other side tonight is because I'll do that off camera and it'll be the identical thing that I did on this side, so I'm not going to record it. Before I roll this cabinet over, I need to run the router around the edges and clean up any of the T-molding that has Bondo in it now. So let me get these couple of spots patched up and then we'll run the router around the edge. Okay, you can see the couple spots that I have that I touched up. Once this dries, I'll sand it real quick and then we're going to router it, flip it on its backside because we have some cracking on the front and we need to fix that. I'm gonna, after this is done and the paperboy cabinet is done as far as bodywork and paint, I'll be working on putting this together. And then I'm gonna be working on a Stargate cabinet for my buddy and a Stargate cabinet for me. And I have a Midway cabinet coming now too. That's gonna be a Miss Pac-Man. So I gotta do the bodywork, paint, and artwork on that as well. That Miss Pac-Man is going to be, it could be a Pac-Man cabinet, but I'm gonna put Miss Pac-Man artwork on it. That cabinet is getting an LCD monitor, and it's actually going on location. It's going to a bar, not for me, for a buddy of mine. So that cabinet, I just need to do some body work on it, fit the LCD monitor, stupid things like that. But that'll be coming as well. So I have that, those two Stargate cabinets, and then I'm gonna have some Nintendo cabinets coming to do. I've got a lot of stuff to do arcade related. Once I get my Stargate done, I wanna turn my attention to that Tempest and start getting that cabinet ready, because I did get the monitor back for the Tempest, so that is all rebuilt and ready to go, and the boards are already working and everything else. So, all right, I'm gonna wait a couple more minutes, sand this down, come back, and we're gonna router these T-molding grooves out. Okay, now I'm ready to put the T-molding groove back in a couple of spots. Now I need to readjust this because it was set for something different. Okay, that looks good right there. Now you want to run this counterclockwise. You don't want to go clockwise. So counterclockwise is going to be this way. So let's go ahead and fix this corner. If it'll turn on. That little spark was just that one of the screw heads must have hit real lightly. So this back looks pretty good. I got a little bit right here. Once again, make sure you stay counterclockwise. Gotta hold this on button for a second. Okay, we have our groove all back in. Now I'm going to get it blown off. We're going to put it on its back and start messing with the front. What we have in the front here is some crappy repairs that somebody had done, and they're cracked, okay? They seem solid, but they're cracked. So what we're going to do is, I don't know what that's all about, but we're going to take this deburring tool and we're going to groove into this crack, and then we're going to make slits across like stitches. Okay, and we're going to do it to this crack, and this crack up here. Then tonight we're going to fill this with some fiberglass resin, and we're going to let it set overnight so that tomorrow I can sand this down, get the other side bodyworked and ready for primer, and then hopefully tomorrow night we'll be primering this cabinet. So let's grind these out how I want to do it here. Got my glasses on. Make sure you wear glasses when you're doing this stuff. that piece off. This is laminate on the front here, so we're fixing what we have. I don't want to peel it all off. Blow this off. We're gonna get some fiber. I don't even need to blow it off. We can just wipe it off. Let me go get another cup so that we can mix up some fiberglass. Okay, let's put some tape on these edges to kind of stop the fiberglass from going off the edge, hopefully again. And by making these slits this way, what we're doing is we're bonding the two pieces back together. We don't need to mix up a ton of resin. It's not real thick, these grooves. And I'm gonna put a little bit extra hardener like I did earlier because that definitely set up a little better than their recommendations. So got those two taped off, and I need to tape off this one up here. Probably gonna go get the heat gun again. Okay. All right, we're gonna mix up a little bit more again. I think I'm just gonna do like an ounce and see if that's enough. Maybe an ounce and a half. There's only a 2-ounce mark on this cup, so you gotta kind of guess. We're gonna do 15 or almost 30 drops again because I'm just under the 2. I think I did 31. All right. I'm using the same stick as earlier. I try to reuse these sticks as many times as possible because the paint store never gives you enough of them. And you end up having to buy them, and believe it or not, like 100 paint sticks anymore is like $25 for a piece of freaking wood to stir some paint with. And you know, it's just scrap wood probably. Used to be able to get 100 of them for like $6.99. It's okay if there's a little bit more. It's okay if it's a little high. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, I'm gonna go grab the heat gun again. And the only reason why I'm doing this with the heat gun is just to get it to stiffen up so that it quits running. Then I'll let it cure overnight. Usually within a couple hours it'll be cured, especially if you use a little heat. Now the key is not to get it super hot with the heat gun. Go over it like 5-6 times, get it warm, and then move on to the next spot. And then come back. By the time you come back, it'll start gelling up a little bit on you. So let's move on down here. Okay, I'm gonna let this cool off for a couple minutes and I'll be back. All right, it's been sitting for a few minutes. It's sticky, but it's definitely not runny anymore. So that's good. Pull the tape off. Let it sit overnight. Let it fully cure on its own. Yep, should be good. All right, guys, that is going to end it. This is going to be part 2 of the pole position restore. Tomorrow, I'll come back. We'll body work the front. I'll do the other side off camera, and then we will get this thing into primer tomorrow night. And then Sunday, or maybe Saturday, I'll work on Paperboy. I'll get that sanded down and reprimered. And then maybe Sunday, we can paint them both. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully Sunday, it'd be nice if we can get them both painted, sand them down and get them painted. Probably do them both at the same time. Because I'm painting the sides white on both of them, and the front and back and everything black on both of them. So we might as well do it at the same time. So, all right, guys, that's going to end part 2 of the pole position. If you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe, share, hit the thumbs up. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.